Hey everybody, John the Other here, obviously. Now, I was watching a video from Sargon of Akkad, and he was talking to Dave Rubin, who's a former contributor at the Young Turks, and the conversation they were having was about the emerging division, the emerging gulf between classical liberals, which is, people who believe in freedom of speech, freedom of thought, freedom of association, political representation through democracy and all this stuff, and progressives, how the liberal, not liberal lefty, liberal as in person who believes in civil liberties, although now that's called a civil libertarian or a libertarian, and, quote, progressives who are clearly a left-leaning social movement, how this divide is happening, and Dave Rubin talks about it as a divide happening in the last year or so. I think it's much older and more established and deeper than that. But he also mentions a level of fear, Dave Rubin does, of criticizing the political ideology or the talking points or even the policies that emerge from so-called progressive, this progressive social movement. In that, if you are criticizing something as a bad idea because it's unworkable or it's impossible or it's too expensive or you've started from a false premise, so the conclusion you're going to get to isn't going to work, the returning rebuttal from the progressive side is, as we have all seen so many times, so often an inflammatory attack on the person rather than a response to the actual argument. So, for example, if you criticize the feminist-driven domestic violence or the grievance industry, and you say their policies are going to perpetuate violence, produce public fear, produce disaffection in society between men and women, and are all based on a fraudulent, bullshit, baloney narrative completely constructed from lies, and therefore I don't agree with these people because they're just money-driven and corrupt, and they're actually using violence and enhancing violence against women and children and boys and men, but who cares about that, to line their pockets and have salaries doing nothing of substance, nothing that actually helps anybody. If you make that argument, the returning rebuttal is, you hate women, which has nothing at all to do with your argument. It's just a personal attack. And now, it's not that they're saying your opinion is you hate women. They're not actually saying, I have divined your internal point of view and I'm here to publish it. What they're actually saying is, you're a bad person! You're very bad! And of course, when that comes from not just one loudmouthed, pea-brained little, asshole, but from a mob, there's fear. And people are afraid to criticize. Dave Rubin admitted it in his talk with Sargon of Akkad. I'll put a link to that in the low bar. Realize that the personal attack is not just false, is knowingly false from the other side. So it's not that these people think you're a rape apologist or a communist or a pinko or a... They know they're lying about you, and that means that that response isn't an attempt to actually argue, it's an attempt to harm you. The verbal equivalent of a bottle across the back of the head. That's what that, it's a violent response. Now, if you're on the side where your response is, to a political opinion that you don't like, is to rhetorically bottle somebody across the back of the head and harm them, well, you pretending to be moral, pretending to have a compass, pretending to be anything other than a violent thug, that's going out the window now. We're not going to pretend that you're a person deserving of respect. And there's one other level here. And Dave Rubin said, I don't know that he's personally afraid, but he was talking about the fear of that personal attack when it comes from the mob, right? When it comes from many, many voices all at once so that there becomes consensus that you are this evil, evil, bad thing. And I see this in a lot of MGTOW and men's rights type of videos where they're arguing some political argument of feminism, the wage gap or the rape statistics, all the fraud. We go, that's fraud. And then, of course, they go, well, you want women to be raped or you want to oppress women or whatever, is to stop trying to be good. Because I don't care about my esteem from people who don't have a compass. I don't care if people who don't care about the truth, don't care about civil discourse, don't care about living in a society where we can have a conversation, if they think I'm good. So I'm perfectly happy to be the bad guy, to be the super villain. And I recommend that you also consider embracing this too. So that's it. Thanks very much for watching, and have a lovely day. Especially if you're bad. Especially if you're evil. Alright, just a reminder, on August 24th at 7 p.m. there's going to be a MGTOW, or I guess a Men's Issues meetup at Mahony's Pub at the UBC campus. It's not going to be purely MGTOW, because obviously Diana Davison is going to be there, as will also be there a guy from Cafe. So that's August 24th, Mahony's Pub, UBC campus. I hope you can be there. If you can't, or if you want to be, you can send me an email. My address is in the low bar. And of course, thanks for watching, and have a lovely